Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Alien survivors begged don't attack Earth. The Empire ignored them. The signal arrived during Lieutenant Commander Valeria Ray's night shift at Lunar Outpost Epsilon, a monitoring station tucked into the dark side of Earth's moon. Most nights passed with nothing but routine satellite maintenance and occasional solar flare warnings. Tonight was different. "Commander, I'm picking up something unusual," said communications specialist Owen Park, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. "It's not on any recognized frequency." Valeria moved from her station to peer over Park's shoulder. "Natural phenomenon." "No, ma'am, definitely artificial, and it's not one of ours." The implications hung in the air unspoken. In 2087, humanity had barely established permanent bases on Mars. The signal couldn't be human in origin. "Can you localize it?" Valeria asked, maintaining the calm demeanor that had earned her command of Epsilon Station despite being only 34. "Working on it," Park replied. "It's faint, like it's coming from very far away or using minimal power." Director Haruki Tanaka joined them, his weathered face betraying concern despite decades of service with Earth defense. "What have we got, Rays?" "Unknown signal, sir. We're tracking the source now." The holoscreen flickered, displaying a three-dimensional map of the solar system. A blinking red dot appeared just beyond Neptune's orbit. "There," Park said, excitement coloring his voice. "Something's out there." Director Tanaka frowned. "Put it through speakers. Let's hear what we're dealing with." At first, there was only static, a cosmic hiss that filled the command center. Then, buried beneath the noise, came something else. Words, not in English or any human language, but somehow translated through the strange signal itself. "Emergency transmission. Survivors of research vessel Luminara, Telsonian hegemony approaching your system. We escaped their conquest of our world. Warning, don't let them find Earth. The ancients sleep there. If awakened, catastrophic." The message repeated twice more before dissolving back into static. Silence fell over the command center. Valeria was the first to speak. "Sir, we need to authenticate this. It could be a hoax." Tanaka nodded slowly. "Get me General Santiago at Defense Command, then prepare a drone for launch. I want eyes on whatever's sending that signal." 12 hours later, Valeria stared at imagery captured by the rapidly deployed reconnaissance drone. There, drifting silently in the void, was an unmistakably alien vessel. Its hull was cracked, with sections appearing partially crystalline, emitting a faint luminescence. The craft was roughly the size of a terrestrial naval destroyer but shaped like nothing humans had designed, organic curves melded with geometric precision. "The signal's stronger now," Park reported. "They must have boosted power knowing we detected them." The translated message played again, clearer this time. "Attention Earth vessels, we are survivors of the Araxian confluence. Our world fell to the Telsonian hegemony 3 cycles ago. We tracked their communications. Earth is their next target. You must not resist them conventionally. The ancients buried beneath your world's crust must remain dormant. If awakened in conflict, their emergence will consume your civilization and countless others." General Constanza Santiago's hologram appeared in the center of the command room, her silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun. "Commander Reyes, has the alien vessel made any aggressive moves?" "No, General, they appear severely damaged. Life support signatures are minimal. And they claim Earth is about to be invaded by a hostile force." "Yes, ma'am, they're specifically warning against resistance, saying it could trigger something worse." Santiago's expression hardened. "Convenient. They claim another threat is coming and tell us not to defend ourselves." "With respect, General," Valeria interjected, "their vessel shows signs of weapons damage consistent with their story. And they're not telling us not to defend ourselves. They're warning about something specific on Earth itself." "Ancient beings beneath our crust," Santiago scoffed. "We've mapped Earth's interior extensively. There's nothing down there but rock and magma." Director Tanaka cleared his throat. "There is something odd in their warning, General. The specificity suggests they know something we don't." "Or they're laying groundwork for their own invasion," Santiago countered. "Either way, Earth defense isn't taking chances. I've activated the planetary shield network. All orbital platforms are on high alert." Valeria frowned. "And the alien vessel, they appear to need assistance." "Maintain distance. No direct contact until we've determined their true intentions." After Santiago's hologram disappeared, Valeria turned to Tanaka. "Sir, what if they're telling the truth, if there is another alien force approaching?" "Then we'll face it," Tanaka said simply. "But I agree with you, something about their warning feels genuine, the fear in that transmission. You can't fake that." 3 days passed with the alien vessel maintaining position. Earth government struggled to keep its presence secret, but amateur astronomers had already spotted the anomaly. Social media buzzed with theories, from first contact opportunities to doomsday predictions. Then, during Valeria's shift, Park bolted upright at his station. "Commander, multiple fold space ruptures detected at the system's edge." The monitoring screens filled with new signals as massive objects tore through the fabric of space. Not one vessel, but dozens, a fleet of ships with energy signatures dwarfing anything in Earth's arsenal. "Alert Defense Command," Valeria ordered. "And get me a direct line to that alien vessel. If they know what's coming, we need that information now." As the mysterious fleet approached, a new transmission reached Earth, not from the damaged alien craft but from the lead vessel of the approaching armada. The translation software struggled briefly before rendering the message. "People of Earth, I am Admiral Jorax of the Telsonian hegemony. Your world has been selected for integration into our collective. Resistance is unnecessary and inadvisable. Prepare your leaders to receive our emissaries. The hegemony brings order to chaos, purpose to potential. You will thank us for this gift." Valeria exchanged glances with Tanaka. "They're here," she whispered, "just like our visitors warned." "And now we find out what else they were right about," Tanaka replied grimly. The alien vessel that had sent the warning suddenly accelerated, not toward Earth but away, as if attempting to hide within the outer reaches of the solar system. Valeria watched it flee and couldn't shake the terrible feeling that the true danger wasn't the invasion fleet now bearing down on her homeworld, but whatever slept beneath its surface, waiting to be awakened. Admiral Nidon Jorek stood on the command deck of the inevitable Triumph, flagship of the Telsonian hegemony's 7th Acquisition Fleet. His 4 eyes, arranged in a diamond pattern across his gray-scaled face, blinked in sequence, a sign of satisfaction among his kind. The small blue-green planet filled the main viewport, unremarkable except for its strategic position and resource potential. "Preliminary scans complete, Admiral," reported First Officer Pelox, her translucent exoskeleton glowing faintly with bioluminescent patterns indicating focused attention. "The natives possess rudimentary space capabilities and nuclear weaponry, but nothing that threatens our vessels." "And the Araxian scout ship?" Jorex asked, mandibles clicking softly. "Retreated to the outer system, damaged too severely to pose any threat." Jorex flicked a clawed hand dismissively. The Araxians were always troublesome. Their species' pathological aversion to conflict made them unreliable subjects. Their warnings about Earth were typical of their kind, desperate attempts to preserve primitive worlds through superstition and fear. "Deploy scanning drones," Jorex ordered. "Standard geological and atmospheric surveys. I want integration protocols prepared within one rotation." "Admiral," interrupted Science Director Thelox, his spindly form approaching the command platform. "I've analyzed the Araxian transmission. Their warning about ancients beneath the planet's surface merits investigation." Jorex's upper eyes narrowed. "The Araxians will say anything to delay integration. There is nothing special about this world." "With respect, Admiral, our scans are detecting unusual energy patterns from the planet's core. Nothing dangerous, but inconsistent with standard geothermal activity." Jorex momentarily considered the possibility. The hegemony had encountered peculiar worlds before, planets harboring ancient technologies or biological anomalies. Such discoveries were typically cataloged, studied, and when valuable, harvested. "Proceed with integration as planned," Jorex decided. "If these ancients exist, they'll become hegemony property alongside everything else." On Earth, Dr. Nathaniel Okonkwo stared at his seismograph readings in bewilderment. As chief geologist for the Global Sciences Initiative, he'd spent decades studying Earth's internal structure. What he was seeing now defied explanation. "It makes no sense," he muttered to his assistant, Dr. Fatima Alvarez. "These patterns aren't tectonic in nature." The laboratory, housed deep within Mount Weather's secure facility, hummed with increased activity as government officials and military personnel crowded the research space. The alien fleet's arrival had transformed theoretical preparation into desperate reality. Could the alien vessels be causing these readings? Asked General Santiago, who had arrived hours earlier from Defense Command. Nathaniel shook his head. No, whatever this is, it's coming from within Earth itself. Look at the distribution pattern. He gestured to the holographic display where pulsing energy signatures appeared at 12 locations, distributed evenly across the planet's crust, each positioned at what seemed like precisely calculated intervals. They follow a dodecahedral pattern, Fatima noted. Perfect geometric spacing, that's not natural. And they're getting stronger, Nathaniel added grimly, as if something's waking up. General Santiago's communication device chimed. Santiago here, what, when, her expression darkened. Understood, continue monitoring. She addressed the room. The Telsonian fleet has deployed smaller craft. They've entered Earth's atmosphere over major population centers. A nearby screen switched to live news footage showing sleek silver objects hovering above Manhattan, Beijing, Cairo, and other major cities. Crowds gathered in streets below, faces turned skyward in fear and wonder. They're going to announce themselves, Fatima whispered. As if on cue, the worldwide broadcast began. Every electronic device capable of receiving signals displayed the same image, a Telsonian commander, alien and imposing. People of Earth, the translated voice intoned. The Telsonian hegemony brings you order and advancement. Your governments have 24 hours to transfer authority. Resistance will result in demonstration of power. Compliance will bring benefits. Choose wisely. The transmission ended abruptly, leaving stunned silence. Well, they're direct, Nathaniel remarked dryly. General Santiago didn't smile. The Security Council is convening now. Most nations favor unified resistance, but several are arguing for compliance. And the alien vessel that warned us, Fatima asked. Still hiding near Neptune, we've been unable to establish direct communication. Nathaniel turned back to his readings. These energy signatures, they're accelerating their pattern. Something about the Telsonians' arrival is triggering a response. At the Pentagon's Crisis Command Center, intelligence leaders watched satellite imagery of Telsonian ships positioning themselves strategically around the globe. President Eleanor Warren addressed the assembled military leaders, her voice steady despite the unprecedented crisis. General Santiago assures me our orbital platforms are prepared to engage if necessary. The question remains, do we heed the warning from the damaged alien vessel? These ancients they mentioned. Defense Secretary Abrams cleared his throat. Madam President, with respect, we can't base military strategy on cryptic warnings from unknown aliens. The Telsonians are a real, present threat. We must respond accordingly. And Dr. Okonkwo's findings, she pressed. The energy signatures. Unexplained but not necessarily connected. The president nodded slowly. Very well. Inform the UN Security Council that the United States supports unified resistance. But she held up a hand. I want targeted strikes only, no nuclear options without my direct authorization. Back on the inevitable triumph, Admiral Jorax received the consolidated response from Earth's governments. They refuse integration, reported Communications Officer Nerix. They demand our immediate withdrawal. Jorax wasn't surprised. Most species required demonstration before accepting hegemony rule. He had almost hoped for resistance. It had been several conquests since his warriors had experienced proper combat. Prepare precision strikes on their military installations, he ordered. Standard subjugation protocol. Science Director Thelox approached again, agitation evident in his rapid movements. Admiral, the energy readings from the planet have increased tenfold in the last hour. Whatever's down there is responding to our presence. For the first time, Jorax felt a flicker of uncertainty. The hegemony had conquered thousands of worlds, but occasionally, very occasionally, they encountered something unexpected. The legendary 7th Fleet had vanished during the conquest of Proxima Centauri IV, its destruction still unexplained. He dismissed the thought and proceeded with the strikes. Aboard the Araxian vessel Luminara, Ambassador Thranik watched in despair as the Telsonian ships moved into attack position. His people had sacrificed everything to deliver their warning, and still, it would not be heeded. We failed, whispered Navigator Pelona, her luminescent skin dimming with sorrow. Not yet, Thranik responded, adjusting their remaining communication array. If we can reach just one human who understands, someone with access to their defense systems, perhaps we can convince them to stand down. And if we can't, Thranik's compound eyes reflected the distant blue planet that now held the fate of countless civilizations. Then we witness what the ancients forewarned, the awakening that ended the first era of galactic civilization. On Earth, as Telsonian weapons prepared to fire, Dr. Nathaniel Okonkwo watched in horror as his instruments registered a massive surge in the mysterious energy patterns. They're fully activating, he breathed. Whatever's down there, it's waking up. God help us all, General Santiago murmured, watching as the first Telsonian weapons descended toward Earth's surface. Neither the humans nor the Telsonians realized that the true battle hadn't yet begun, and that Earth itself was about to reveal its most ancient secret. Colonel Dmitry Volkov gripped the controls of his experimental orbital interceptor, watching as the first wave of Telsonian attack craft descended toward Earth's atmosphere. As commander of Russia's Aerospace Defense Forces Special Operations Unit, he'd trained for many scenarios, but alien invasion hadn't been one of them. All wings maintain formation, he ordered over the secure channel. Engage only when targets enter upper atmosphere. A coalition of Earth's most advanced fighter craft, Russian, American, Chinese, European, had been hastily assembled into humanity's first line of defense. Their mission seemed futile. The alien vessels dwarfed Earth's military capabilities by every measurable metric. Colonel, came the tense voice of his wingman, Captain Ananya Patel, do we really have a chance here? Dmitry didn't answer immediately. False hope wasn't his style. Our job is to buy time, he finally said. Every minute we delay them is another minute for civilians to reach shelters. The Telsonian attack vessels entered Earth's atmosphere, their hulls glowing from the friction. Dmitry gave the order, all units engage. Earth's fighters unleashed everything they had: missiles, railguns, experimental energy weapons. Most projectiles were neutralized by shimmering energy fields surrounding the alien craft, but a few struck true, causing minor damage. They're not invulnerable, Dmitry noted with grim satisfaction. The small victory was short-lived. The Telsonians returned fire, energy beams slicing through Earth's defense forces with terrible precision. Dmitry watched helplessly as fighters disintegrated around him. Evasive maneuvers, he shouted, pulling his craft into a desperate roll as energy fire seared past his cockpit. Below, in Dr. Okonkwo's laboratory, the monitoring equipment shrieked with alerts as the energy patterns beneath Earth's crust surged exponentially. The signatures are converging, Nathaniel told General Santiago, pointing to his displays. Whatever's happening, it's accelerating with the attack. Fatima rushed to another console. We're detecting tectonic disturbances around each focal point. It's like, she paused, struggling to find words, like something's trying to move the crust itself. Santiago's face hardened. You believe these ancients are real? I believe something is down there, Nathaniel answered carefully. Something responding to what's happening on the surface. His screens suddenly flashed with new data. Wait, one of the focal points is becoming more active than the others. Location is, he checked the coordinates, the Mariana Trench, deepest point on Earth. In orbit, Admiral Jorax watched the battle with increasing frustration. Earth's primitive defenses were more resilient than anticipated. Not enough to change the outcome, but enough to delay the inevitable conquest. Target their major military installations, he ordered. Full-spectrum assault. First Officer Pelox hesitated. Admiral, Science Director Thelox requests immediate consultation. He says it's urgent. Jorax growled but nodded. Moments later, the agitated scientist arrived on the command deck. Admiral, we must cease fire immediately, Thelox said without preamble. The planet's energy signatures have reached critical levels. Something is emerging. Your concerns are noted, Jorax replied dismissively. The conquest continues. A junior sensor officer interrupted. Admiral, unusual activity detected in the planet's ocean. Massive displacement of water near coordinates 11, 3 degrees N, 142, 2 degrees E. The main viewport shifted to show Earth's western Pacific Ocean. What they saw silenced even Jorax. A massive whirlpool had formed, several kilometers in diameter, and from its center rose, Something impossible. In the skis above Manila, Colonel Volkov's remaining fighters regrouped, preparing for another engagement when his comms officer broke protocol. Colonel, sir, you need to see this. Volkov's cockpit display showed the massive disturbance in the Pacific. At first, he thought it must be a tsunami or underwater volcanic eruption, but as he watched, a structure began to emerge from the depths. Not natural, not random, but clearly designed, massive geometric shapes of an unknown metallic substance rising from the ocean floor. All units maintain position, he ordered, unable to tear his eyes from the sight. New development in the Western Pacific. Around the world, similar phenomena began occurring. In the Sahara Desert, sand parted as massive structures rose from beneath. In Antarctica, ice sheets cracked and split as something ancient stirred below. In 12 locations, precisely distributed across Earth's surface, something was awakening. In Mount Weather, Nathaniel and Fatima watched in stunned silence as their instruments registered the emergence. "They're some kind of structures," Fatima whispered. "Artificial structures that have been buried for God knows how long." General Santiago's comm unit buzzed. She listened briefly, her expression shifting from concern to shock. "Dr. Okonkwo, you're needed in the executive briefing room immediately. The president is patching through the Araxian vessel. They're finally talking." In the hastily convened video conference, President Warren, General Santiago, Dr. Okonkwo, and other key officials faced the holographic image of Ambassador Thranik. The Araxian's appearance, vaguely insected but with translucent skin revealing complex internal bioluminescence, momentarily distracted from his urgent message. "The awakening has begun," Thranik said, his voice translated into eerily perfect English. "You must cease all resistance immediately." "These structures," Nathaniel interjected, "what are they?" "Containment nodes," Thranik explained, "built by the predecessors to house the slumbering ones." "Who are these slumbering ones?" President Warren demanded. "The first ones, the originators of consciousness in this galaxy, beings so ancient they witnessed the birth of your son." Outside the briefing room, reports flooded in from around the world. The emerging structures had begun emitting pulses of energy, not destructive but transformative. Humans within several kilometers of each structure reported strange sensations, heightened awareness, sudden insights, and in some cases, inexplicable abilities. In Manila, a young woman found herself instinctively understanding the Telsonian language as it broadcasted overhead. In Cairo, a street vendor discovered he could move objects with his thoughts. In Rio de Janeiro, a child began speaking of distant worlds she could never have known about. Colonel Volkov, circling cautiously above the Pacific structure, felt it too, a presence brushing against his mind, ancient and vast. "Something's trying to communicate," he reported, his voice tight with tension. On the inevitable triumph, alarm spread through the command deck as reports came in of anomalies affecting their forces. "Our ground teams report humans exhibiting unexpected capabilities," First Officer Pelox informed Jorax. "Telepathic interference, matter manipulation, abilities no pre-integration species should possess." Science Director Thelox approached, no longer deferential but urgent. "Admiral, we must withdraw. The Araxians were right. This planet is a containment world. The ancients, the hegemony's founders, warned about their awakening because of our attack." For the first time in his distinguished career, Admiral Jorax knew fear. The legends passed down through Telsonian generations spoke of worlds that must never be approached, stars that must never be visited, remnants of a time before the current galactic order, when beings of unimaginable power walked among the stars. "Cease fire," he ordered sharply. "All vessels disengage and prepare for orbital repositioning." But it was too late. The 12 structures had fully emerged, each kilometers tall, their surfaces covered in symbols no human language could decipher. They began to pulse in unison, sending waves of energy washing over Earth's surface. In Mount Weather, Ambassador Thranik's hologram flickered as he delivered his final warning. "What happens next depends entirely on how they judge you." The slumbering ones were contained because they refused to abandon humanity, their final creation before the other predecessors forced them into hibernation. "Judge us," General Santiago asked. "Judge us for what?" "For your potential," Thranik replied simply. "They loved you too much to destroy you but feared what you might become. Now they wake to find their children under attack." At that moment, every electronic device on Earth, and aboard the Telsonian fleet displayed the same image, a symbol resembling a double helix intertwined with geometric patterns impossible in three-dimensional space. Then came a voice, speaking simultaneously in every human language and presumably in Telsonian as well. "We have slept, now we rise, our children are threatened, the covenant is broken." Around the world, millions of humans suddenly clutched their heads as something ancient and powerful reached into their minds. Not to harm, but to connect, to awaken something long dormant in human consciousness itself. Colonel Volkov gasped as understanding flooded his awareness. The truth about Earth, about humanity's origins, about the galaxy's history, knowledge no human was meant to possess for millennia yet. "We are not alone," he whispered, "we never were." Professor Benedict Wilson had spent his entire career studying ancient human civilizations, searching for connections between disparate cultures across the globe. He never expected to witness the greatest archaeological discovery in history through his office window at Oxford University. As the Thames began to glow with ethereal light, Benedict watched a crystalline spire emerge from beneath the river, water cascading off its impossible geometry. Similar reports flooded in from around the world, ancient structures revealing themselves in places long considered sacred by indigenous peoples. "They knew," Benedict whispered to himself. "Every culture, every civilization, they all remembered fragments of the truth." The truth was simultaneously broadcasting itself into the minds of every human being on Earth, not as words or images, but as understanding, deep, intrinsic knowledge that bypassed language entirely. Humanity was not an accident of evolution. Earth was not merely a planet but a carefully designed sanctuary world created by beings ancient beyond comprehension. These predecessors had seeded countless worlds with life, but humans were among their final and most beloved creations. When conflict arose among the predecessors about humanity's potential for both creation and destruction, a faction chose to remain with their creation, entering a state of hibernation beneath Earth's crust rather than abandoning humanity or destroying it. Their presence had subtly guided human development for millennia, their dormant consciousness influencing myths, religions, and the mysterious leaps in human innovation that defied gradual evolution. Now they were fully awakenings. In orbit, Admiral Jorax faced the most difficult decision of his career. The Telsonian fleet hung motionless above Earth as the planet pulsed with energies their sensors could barely comprehend. "Orders, Admiral," First Officer Pelox asked, her exoskeleton now dim with fear. Before Jorax could respond, the command deck illuminated with a presence, not physical but undeniably there. A voice addressed him directly, bypassing the ship's communication systems. "Your kind has forgotten much, Nidon Jorax of Telsonia." The voice knew his personal name, a sacred thing among Telsonians, shared only with family and closest companions. "Who addresses me?" Jorax demanded, maintaining dignity despite his dread. "I am Iridius, once counted among the shapers of worlds. Your ancestors knew us as the Foundation Builders." Jorax stiffened. The Foundation Builders were mythological figures in Telsonian religion, the supposed creators of the first worlds from which all intelligent life had spread. "Impossible," he whispered. "The Foundation Builders are legends, tales for hatchlings." "All legends contain seeds of truth," Iridius replied. "Your species was young when we entered our slumber, barely achieving sentience on your homeworld. We watched your potential with interest." Images filled Jorax's mind, ancient Telsonians emerging from primordial seas, developing their first tools, building primitive settlements. Then later scenes, Telsonians studying artifacts left by vanished civilizations, reverse engineering technologies they couldn't have developed independently. "The hegemony itself is built upon the remnants of what we left behind," Iridius continued. "Your empire exists because you found our abandoned tools and mistook discovery for invention." On Earth, Ambassador Thranic had finally arrived, his damaged vessel limping into Earth's atmosphere under escort from Colonel Volkov's remaining fighters. The Araxian ship landed near the Washington Emergence Site, a massive crystalline structure now dominating the National Mall. Thranic emerged from his vessel, his weakened form supported by two fellow survivors. They approached the human delegation led by President Warren, General Santiago, and Dr. Okonkwo. "We tried to warn you," Thranic said, his translator converting his bioluminescent pulses into speech. The slumbering ones chose Earth as their resting place because humanity was their most promising creation. They went into hibernation to avoid a conflict among their own kind, those who wished to guide humanity's development against those who feared your potential for destruction. And now they're awake, President Warren said. What happens next? That depends partly on you, Thranik replied, and partly on how the Telsonians respond. The awakening is happening faster than even we anticipated. Around them, humans were changing, not physically but fundamentally. People reported sudden awareness of others' thoughts, abilities to perceive energy fields, intuitive understanding of complex concepts previously beyond human comprehension. It was as if dormant portions of the human mind were suddenly activating, portions deliberately designed by the predecessors but kept dormant until humanity was ready. Or until threat forced their premature activation. In orbit, Admiral Jorax made his decision. All vessels, power down weapon systems, maintain position and take no hostile action. Science Director Thelox approached cautiously. Admiral, our sensors detect changes in the humans below. Their neural patterns are evolving, becoming more complex by the minute. I know, Jorax replied quietly. Iridius has shown me what's happening, what we've triggered. Iridius? One of the slumbering ones. They're not just awakening, they're accelerating humanity's development. Capabilities that would have emerged naturally over thousands of years are manifesting in hours. Thelox's scientific mind raced with implications. The containment wasn't to protect the galaxy from these slumbering ones. No, Jorax confirmed. It was to protect the galaxy from what humanity might become under their guidance. The Araxians understood this partially, but even they didn't grasp the full truth. At the Washington Emergence Site, Dr. Okonkwo found himself drawn to the massive crystalline structure. Without understanding why, he placed his hand against its surface. Knowledge flooded his consciousness, technical data, mathematical principles, the unified theories physicists had sought for centuries. They're giving us knowledge, he gasped, everything they know. Not everything, came a new voice, melodious, ancient, and somehow familiar. A figure appeared before them, seemingly composed of light and subtle energy patterns rather than solid matter. Vaguely humanoid, it shifted and flowed as if physical form was an afterthought rather than a necessity. I am Lyriella, the being introduced itself. Once, I was counted among those your myths named gods or angels. We are what remained of the predecessors who chose to stay with humanity rather than abandon our creation. President Warren stepped forward. Why reveal yourselves now after remaining hidden for so long? The attack forced our hand, Lyriella explained. Had the Telsonians simply contacted Earth peacefully, we might have remained dormant for centuries more, allowing humanity to develop at its natural pace. Now that luxury is gone. What changes are happening to us? General Santiago demanded, ever focused on security implications. Your species always had these capabilities dormant within your genetic code. We designed you with potential far beyond what you've realized. Now that potential is accelerating: telepathy, energy manipulation, enhanced cognition. Abilities your myths attributed to gods or wizards. In orbit, Admiral Jorax received a priority communication from the Telsonian High Command. They had detected the massive energy surges from Earth and demanded explanation. Jorax hesitated before responding truthfully. High Command, this is Admiral Jorax. Earth is not suitable for integration. I recommend immediate designation as a prohibited system under ancient precursor protocols. The response was immediate and harsh. Explain yourself, Admiral. The 7th Acquisition Fleet does not retreat. We have encountered active predecessors, Jorax replied, using the formal designation for the mythical Foundation builders. They have awakened and are accelerating human development. Continued hostilities could result in catastrophic consequences for the hegemony. Stunned silence followed before the High Command responded. Hold position. A diplomatic envoy is being dispatched. On Earth, humanity faced its new reality. Not all changes were welcomed. Some people struggled with suddenly awakened abilities, while power structures worldwide faced unprecedented challenges as ordinary citizens suddenly possessed extraordinary capabilities. At the Washington Emergence Site, Ambassador Thranik approached Lyriella respectfully. Ancient One, what becomes of humanity now, and what of other species like mine? Lyriella's form shifted thoughtfully. That is for humanity to decide. We will guide but not control. As for other species, she gestured toward the sky where the Telsonian fleet hung motionless, we have watched many civilizations rise and fall. The hegemony has strayed from balance, taking rather than creating. Perhaps this encounter will restore perspective. Colonel Volkov landed his fighter near the gathering and approached on foot. After witnessing the emergence firsthand, he felt compelled to understand what it meant for Earth's future. These abilities, he asked Lyriella, will everyone develop them equally? Each in their own way at their own pace, she replied. Some may reject the changes entirely, that choice remains yours. We designed humanity with diversification in mind, unlike many of our earlier creations. Dr. Okonkwo, still processing the scientific knowledge flooding his consciousness, looked up at the shimmering being. You mentioned you stayed with humanity when others left. What happened to those others? They continued their work elsewhere in the universe, Lyriella answered. Creating, seeding, guiding. Someday humanity may encounter other predecessor creations among the stars. President Warren, ever pragmatic, focused on immediate concerns. The Telsonians, will they attack again? No, Lyriella said with certainty. They remember us now. The knowledge was buried in their oldest myths, but now they remember who shaped the foundations of their world as well. The hegemony will approach Earth with caution and diplomacy henceforth.